have to admit that the music industry has been a bit behind in terms of working with influencers compared to many other industries I've worked in. For instance, I have 300 interviews on my channel, and I'd say I've lost hundreds if not thousands creating that content. Probably the industry that I've earned the least money from, despite creating the most work in it. I've only done a few film ones and I've already made more than I have via the music industry, which doesn't make much sense. I completely understand the reservations they've had. I came from a journalistic background and I understand it, and I think some of them are valid, some of them are less valid. I think it's true you don't want to alienate other music fans. For instance, if you're covering a festival like Download, you have to be aware that there are some, you know, older music fans that love that festival and they don't want it to be YouTube generation, if you get what I'm saying. So you have to do it in a classy, balanced way and pick the right influences and find the right balance between old media and new media. What's a shame is I would have made my channel predominantly about music if there was more money in it, but you have to diversify when you soon realise that there are so little opportunities. Like, I've had a headphone brand collaboration, and yeah, I've worked with festivals but mainly just paid as a presenter rather than as an influencer. And I understand budgets are extremely tight. I think the main worry is that, you know, it's going to be expensive, it's going to take time, it's going to use resources, it's going to require bands or artists to give us time, but it doesn't have to. Amy, who was on the panel, she does something great, and it's something we should all be doing, and that is syncing songs for our videos. One of the hardest things as a YouTuber is finding songs that work for your videos, whether it be a travel vlog, whether it's a montage or a lookbook, anything like that. And we're trawl through these royalty-free sites like Epidemic Sound, which are really useful, but for, say, like a festival montage, ideally you'd use a band from the lineup to soundtrack the video. But then you go and check and it means that your video is going to be blocked in 28 countries or something, so you can't really do that. So it's just a really great way that doesn't take any time really for the artist or their team to do, to just give us permission to use their track. We can then, you know, link it to a download link or their video or all their socials, and it just feels kind of natural. It's not too like, it doesn't feel too addy or too promotional or too like sell, sell, sell. It just feels like a win-win scenario that should be happening already, and it seems silly not to be happening because, yeah, it's not much effort on anyone's part to do it, and it helps everyone, and it promotes music, because whenever I do kind of a soundtracked type video, I get so many questions going, who's that playing in the background? What song's that? And if you can actually use those interactions to promote an artist or a band, then that's a great thing. And also think outside the box when it comes to getting influencers to make content. It doesn't have to be just about them holding up the single in rather cheesy fashion. You can get them to create creative videos, perhaps inspired by the lyrics. Perhaps they can recreate a music video and do their own interpretation. Perhaps they can create a piece of artwork about it. Perhaps they can, you know, do a style video that's inspired by the style of the band. There's so many different avenues you can go to depending on what influencer you've worked with. It's got to work for what they do, but also deliver what you want. Like I said earlier, don't always think you've got to go for the person that labels themselves music influencer. For instance, I've got loads of my music recommendations from Liv Purvis and Hannah Louise F, who I guess would describe themselves more like lifestyle or fashion bloggers. But Hannah has a playlist on her blog that she does every month, and she's often going to gigs in her Insta stories, so I pick up new bands that way. And Liv, the same, she does playlists and she's often soundtracking her videos with great music. Then even shots from the street, she always uses really cool songs to soundtrack her lookbooks, but she would never describe herself as a music influencer. When it comes to working with festivals, they need to decide whether they're looking to drive ticket sales to the festival. So therefore we need to plan and create content a few months before the actual event, perhaps when the pre-sales are out even. Or do they want us to, you know, document that year's event, so we have to be there and create the videos and the photos when we're there to perhaps drive sales to next year's event, or generally raise awareness for the event, perhaps just to showcase how much fun or how cool the event is to people that follow our channel, and just put it on their radar. Are you looking for a content creator to just take amazing photos or create videos that you can use on your social media platforms, because you know it's actually more affordable than hiring lots of photographers and videographers to do that, and you get the bonus of them sharing it on their platforms and reaching their audience too, so it's like you get 2 for 1. My download festival content ended up being, I think, my most popular content of the year, and actually got more views than influencers a lot bigger than me in terms of subscribers. So I think that obviously could be down to so many things. It could be where you are in the search. Like if you're high up, you know, more people will find your video. So it could be down to how well you've tagged it. It could be when you uploaded it. It could just be because it's good, or it could be to do with your demographic. For instance, I've got, for being a female influencer, I have quite a large male following, I guess because I did so many interviews and they found me that way. It might just be that the age range that watches my videos or the prominent demographic is the same as downloads demographic. It's very hard to know what is the big thing that's made that video pop, but it's quite interesting again that you shouldn't just be guided by numbers. I know Amy's done very well on Insta stories at festivals. For instance, like her reach was bigger than a lot of the prominent, you know, metal and rock magazines. So it just proves that, you know, using the correct platform, using the right blogger at the right event, you can reap really good results. I understand budgets are tight at festivals. I've worked behind the scenes in music. I know money is hard to come by. But what would be really helpful to us influencers would be to connect us with the partners and the sponsors when there's no budget from the festival or the promoter itself. We have to acknowledge that it is a huge privilege for us to get guest passes or press passes to these events. We must never forget that. We should always be grateful. But I think sometimes it's forgotten that unlike the photographers and the journalists and reviewers that are there, we're not going to get paid by a publication or website to make the content. So quite often we are losing tens if not hundreds of pounds to create that content for that festival, because it will be accommodation, expenses, travel, sometimes hiring equipment even. So like last year I had to really cut down my festival content because of that, which was a shame because I want to make lots of festival content, but when you're losing money to promote someone, it gets a bit tricky. So if they were able to, you know, link us up with the sponsors or the partners of the festival and just say, we have these influencers going, could they create some content for you? We might be able to at least cover our costs, if not make some money while we make the content while we're there. So that would be something that would be really helpful for us if more festivals did a bit of that. I understand it gets so hectic and crazy before festivals. They're probably like, oh, nothing else for us to do, please. But just a little intro to the contacts at the sponsors would be just so helpful. Authenticity was a huge theme over the whole panel talk from both sides, both from Minnie and Louisa and me, Zoe and Amy. We talked about this a lot, and it's important to all of us because we've seen it happen. We know what happens when you work on a product that doesn't seem a good fit, or you do something that they know isn't genuine. You lose trust in your audience. People aren't interested, and you know, it taints you and it affects your success in future collaborations because there's no longer that investment, or they don't feel like this is an honest interaction that's going on between image, you and the viewer and audience. Both Minnie and Louisa said that if there is an artist or single they want to promote, they will put a lot of time into making sure that the people they work with are genuine fans. So they might already follow people that they know have been, you know, posting about this artist for years, has been there from the start, has been going to their gigs, have been supporting their releases the whole way. And I thought that was really lovely that they do put the effort into doing that. And that is quite right. That's how it should be done. You don't want anyone just going, oh, I really like this artist, when actually perhaps they've never heard of them or they don't like them. That's not the way it should be done. And if there's like a theme to the lyrics, I think they're talking about an artist who wrote a song that was very much about his struggle with anxiety. So they searched out influencers that could create content that was a creative way of talking about that, images or visuals or written word that would really sum up what the song was about. Perhaps they could link it to their own experiences, but it just felt genuine and something that would sit well on their platforms because it's something they've talked about before, it's something they know about, something that they're passionate about. Or just working with creatives that were so inventive or would just come up with a really good and interesting way to depict what that song was about. Again, as I was just saying, for us bloggers, authenticity is one of the most important things. Well, it should be. I'm not going to say it is for everyone, but it really should be, because I just don't think it can be as rewarding a career if you're pushing things that you don't believe in and you're encouraging people to purchase or do things that aren't good or aren't right, or at least don't fit in with your personal morals and opinions. I just don't see how you can enjoy doing that, whatever money you're being offered. But of course we've all got individual do's and don'ts. For instance, my big struggle this year has been that I made the decision not to work with any non-cruelty free beauty, and because I'm eating vegan now, there's been a lot of other things I've had to turn down. Like I've turned down a collaboration with a leather brand, I've turned down with a big fast food chain, a hair brand that would have been massive for me, but they still test on animals. And then there's also been bands that I haven't been willing to interview because there's been some certain press about them, and I just don't want to be part of that, and I don't want to upset my viewers by being seen to support or promote. I know all the girls on the panel are like this too, and I know Zoe and Amy have turned down brands as well for their own reasons. I think people should know that this happens more than you think. We're not all just here trying to grab freebies and money. You know, we do have a conscience and we do have morals, and we do try our best to pick things that we feel are right for us. Just quickly talk about artists on social media, and we're in a funny time with, you know, in terms of interacting with artists and bands. When I was younger, you wouldn't expect to meet a band. That would be like dream case scenario. But I think these days there's this expectation that you'll meet the brand, you'll interact on social media with them, you'll be able to get a selfie with them. You know, it almost seems normal. But I think there's also a key ingredient of being accessible, being kind of within reach, but still being slightly distant, still having that aspirational quality. I think that's what it is. It's like relatable, reachable, but aspirational. It's still being someone that they warm to and relate to or feel they know, but also being put on a pedestal. It's that careful balance there. I was talking about how well Halsey portrays herself on social media and how effective her strategy is. I'm not saying that she has a strategy, but what she does is working well, because she does put very intimate personal things about her life on there, and because of that people really connect to her, they invest in her and they want the best for her and they care about what's going on with her life, so they'll be checking into her Instagram to see what's going on, whether it's about her private life or her releases. But then you'll have anomalies like Kendrick Lamar, and I just think, I know a lot of people, new artists go, let's go down that route, let's be aloof, let's be quiet, we don't need social media. But he is an exception to the rule. Not everyone can do that. So I think a key thing is reply to comments, you know, reply to the DMs, even if it's just putting the heart. They will get excited by the fact that, oh, we put heart next to my comment, he's read my comment. That can be enough for some fans. Just show love and support for the fandom. Is that what people are calling them still now? I don't know. But because they are what's making you survive, appreciate them, be grateful, show your love for them, and that will help you. And I think these days people are so much more aware about, you know, inclusivity and things like cultural appropriation. Just be aware, don't be tone deaf, basically. Try and be inclusive, but not in a tokenist way. Don't just go, oh, we need one of them and one of them. Do it because you genuinely think everyone should be a part of this creative process and this thing that you're putting out there. Yeah, so I want to see more people of colour, or disabled, invisible illnesses, trans, LGBTQ, just like make your thing reach as many people as possible. Don't do it with a motive, do it because it's the right and only thing you should be doing. So something that didn't make it into the talk but I thought was a really interesting thing was merchandise, because we know from the bands we know there's no money in downloads or sales of records or anything anymore. It's just not the way it is since, you know, illegal downloading, YouTube and all these sorts of things. That's not where they get the money. That's just not how it works today. The bands are surviving on merch sales and ticket sales to tours, and maybe, you know, if they get a good dollop from a festival lineup positions. So, but the problem we find is there's a lot of awful merch out there, and we would absolutely love to be able to help the bands, you know, come up with merch designs that we know would do well and be worn and bought by, you know, people that are into fashion and not just into music. You just see so many, you're like, oh, you're a great band, but your merch is awful and I won't wear that even though I love your band. We'd love to get involved in that sort of stuff and give our input, and, you know, even if it's just you sending the edit of your merch designs over and us going, I think that works, that doesn't, maybe change that and I think it'd be a winner. You know, we'd love to get involved in the creative process of that. But also, we make lookbooks, we regularly post outfit posts. Collaborate with us on some sponsored Instagrams so we can showcase your merch and style it up in new ways and show how you can wear it and just tell people that it's out there. That seems like a very obvious and untapped thing. We do it occasionally, we'll buy merch and we'll put it on our Instagrams and on our videos, but this could be a regular thing. We could update people on new releases, show them what's out there, and that could be really beneficial to bands that are surviving on merch sales, and it doesn't have to be too expensive. Anyway, these are the longest videos I think I've ever made. There's so many more things I could go into, but I want you to ask me any questions you have below. If there's any part of what I've discussed in these videos that you want me to talk a bit more on, then I can do some individual videos based on just those subjects. But yeah, my DMs, my emails, my Twitter is always open. If any people from brands or music industry people want to ask more questions, if any people wanting to get into influencing want to ask me more questions, I know you think, because my numbers, what does she know? But, you know, I've made decisions based not on perhaps succeeding or, you know, getting money. It's very clear how things should be done and what's working, and I can let you know what is going down a storm and how to go about things if you want to know. So don't hesitate to get in touch, and no question is too silly. Always happy to help, and hope this was interesting or useful. And yeah, leave comments, questions, anything below. Thanks for watching.